Some of the pro-Trump rioters who stormed the Capitol this month wore clothing with anti-Semitic images and messages, the latest sign of a growing problem in America. From 2015 to 2019, anti-Semitic incidents jumped nearly 124%. That is to a record high. And some Jewish leaders say there is no coincidence here. The growth of crimes against Jews intensified under President Trump. As we prepare to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day tomorrow, our Jim Axelrod shows us examples of the hate and the personal toll on those targeted.
Even among the many disturbing images the country confronted on January 6th, a Confederate flag paraded through the Capitol, for instance. Some were more painful than others for some Americans.
The future of the country is at stake here.
Take Audrey Glickman, a Jewish woman from Pittsburgh, who had to look at rioters wearing Camp Auschwitz sweatshirts.
It must hit you viscerally when you see Camp Auschwitz shirts as part of January 6th.
Of course it does.
How could it not? Glickman is one of the survivors of the deadliest attack on Jews in American history. She was inside the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh that horrific October day in 2018 when a gunman stormed in and slaughtered 11 of her fellow worshipers.
Do you ever wish that what would come out of the Tree of Life shooting isn't more hate, but a collective wake up? Hey, we got a problem.
Absolutely. That has been my wish from the very beginning, that people would understand, but we've seen more shootings since then, more killing. People are not understanding. How do we make them understand?
For starters, understand the numbers. According to the Anti-Defamation League, acts of anti-Semitism started spiking in 2016 after a nearly 15-year drop. The most recent statistics show the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents in its recorded history, more than 2,100 acts of assault, vandalism, and harassment against Jews.
If you are alarmed looking at this data, it's because it's undeniable something is going on, and we're all concerned about it. Of course, it got worse.
Jonathan Greenblatt is the Anti-Defamation League CEO.
Jews will not replace us!
He notes the spike pairs with former President Trump's rise to power and says that's no coincidence.
Some of this, I think, is because we've had, a leader at the top who's been bullying from his different platforms relentlessly every day.
If you buy the concept that those who forget history are condemned to relive it, how much of your brain is given over to the possibility what we saw the 6th of January was just the beginning?
But what I would say to you is that what just happened is really, if you will, the end of the beginning. I think we're now moving into a dangerous new phase, and it's going to require government and business and civil society to work hand in hand, to lock arms, to push back on this surge of prejudice.
That history is front and center for Annie Polland, president of the Tenement Museum in New York.
Often in the United States, we study the Holocaust, which is incredibly important, and that needs to be studied too. But just as important in this country is to look at how anti-Semitism has manifested itself.
Let me see your stickers.
In the last few months alone, it's manifested itself in the form of swastikas on street corners in California and Virginia, a vandalized Anne Frank memorial, and a menorah shot with a pellet gun during Hanukkah.
When we see anti-Semitism rear its head in the form of the symbols, in the form of sweatshirts that say Camp Auschwitz, that's a problem for Jews in America, but more deeply, it's a problem for all Americans.
Yet despite the spike in anti-Semitism, Audrey Glickman says that awareness not only breeds alarm, but also brings the hate out of the shadows. And in the bright light, there is hope.
There is always hope. There is always the possibility of going forward and doing better, even if it's small steps. It's a big country and it's a big world, and there are a lot of us, and the people who hate are not the majority yet. We can do this.
The Biden administration is set to restore funding to address domestic extremism that the Trump administration had cut. As for President Joe Biden, he plans to appoint leadership at the Department of Justice that will prioritize the prosecution of hate crimes.
Jim Axelrod, thank you, Jim. Some important reporting there. It is a problem for America. You can hear more of Jim's conversation with the Anti-Defamation League's Jonathan Greenblatt on today's CBS This Morning podcast.